Hello everyone, today we're going to be talking about soul shields and the importance of soul shields. A lot of people are really concerned about their AP or attack power because that seems to be the standard for getting into parties into FA, getting into MSP runs, stuff like that, because a lot of people, they just recruit based off AP. However, other than AP, your soul shields play a very big part in your stats. So you can see here, like for example my piece 1, that I have all these other stats. Oops, I pressed the wrong button. So you can see over here on my piece 1, I have a bunch of stats. If I hold shift and I click the soul shield, it'll actually open up and it'll say that my HP, there's a range from 4,816 to 6,880. And you can see that it's 100% and it's maxed out. There'll be a little max symbol. However, my critical chance is only 327 out of a maximum of 397. So I'm only 41% of the way. And if I get multiple piece 1 soul shields of my Twilight Temple, I can pop it into this and I can use reinforced sacrifice. So it says here, reinforcement sacrifice. Use identical parts of an identical soul shield set to reinforce the attributes of the soul shield. So if I have another piece 1 which has critical or has block, I can pop it in here and it'll increase the stat of my critical or my block up to 100%. So for example, for my HP, if I get another piece 1 and I pop it in, my HP cannot go further. The maximum it can go is 6,880, which it already is. However, this applies to all your soul shields. So obviously Twilight Temple piece 1 is not like the best example. So let's look at something else like a piece 4 over here. So this would be my Vortex Temple piece 4. So you can see that I've maxed out all 3 stats, my HP, my critical, and my accuracy. So you'll see that my stats is 388 out of 388 for my accuracy, for my critical, and for my HP at 7,380 out of 7,380. So what you can do after you max out these stats, after all 3 are maxed out by the reinforcement sacrifice, you can use fuse sacrifice. So fuse sacrifice is use a soul shield primer to add more attributes to the soul shield. So you'll see now when I hover my mouse over my soul shield, for my critical chance, it's 776. However, the maximum was only 388, but you see a little bracket with a plus sign saying 388 plus 388. This is because I used a soul shield primer. And by using the soul shield primer, you can essentially double the stats of any soul shield. So you'll see here that I've doubled my critical chance on my piece 4. So now I'm going to go through piece 1 to piece 8. I'm going to show you that I've essentially doubled every single stat I have for all of my soul shields. So you'll see on my piece 1, my maximum crit chance is 397. However, you can see that it's currently 327 plus 397. The main reason is because I have not finished using the reinforcement sacrifice to max out the critical chance. However, if I use the fuse sacrifice with the soul shield primer, it can essentially roll maximum crit chance. Obviously, it depends on your build, but personally, I think that maxing out crit chance is the most beneficial for most players. For 99% of the player base, just make sure that you have critical on every soul shield. It is very important. It really does help out on your DPS. So you'll see here, my first piece, I've got 724 critical. My second piece, I've got 832. You can see here that I've maxed out my critical chance and I've maxed out my HP. My piece 3 over here, I need to work on my HP, I need to work on my critical and my block. But because of the fuse primer, it's 339 plus 435, so I have 774 critical, so forth and so on for all my soul shields. So what's really important is if you're still on Vortex Temple, is to max them out. Because currently with the event on MSP, you can get these Tawny Nightstones by doing MSP stages 4 and 5, I believe. And just by farming that, you'll get a bunch of these, and then you can just go straight to the merchant and buy your Vortex Temple soul shields. So as you can see here, my piece 4 is maxed out, piece 5 is maxed out, my piece 6 needs a little bit more on the accuracy and on the critical, and it'll also be maxed out, 7 totally maxed, and piece 8 totally maxed. And because of that, you'll see when I press P to bring up my stats over here, that my stats are extremely strong. So you'll see that even though I have 20 on offense, 20 on defense, 10 on HP regen, 25 movement speed, 25 on focus, my stats are still absurdly broken because of my critical rate. I have 64.44% critical chance without any buffs. As you can see, I've only got my premium membership and my clan ranking over here. And because I have such a high critical chance, I now will be working on my critical damage so that I can gain more multipliers, so that I deal more DPS overall. Obviously, AP is still important. However, having a high critical chance is also fairly important and fairly easy to obtain. So what I see a lot of people struggling with is maybe they get their 8-piece Vortex Temple. However, their 8-piece Vortex Temple, maybe they don't have critical accuracies on all the pieces, or maybe they don't even have critical. So what I recommend most people to do, if they don't have the perfect soul shield, let's say your piece 8 is a block evasion, so it's totally useless. However, you need it because you need to have your 8-piece bonus for your Vortex Temple. What I recommend to do is put on the piece 8, however, fuse it with a critical primer. You don't need to use any expensive ones. You can just go to the Dragon Express here, on the first tab of exchange, scroll down, and you'll see right here at Artisanal Critical Soul Shield Primer. It only costs one of these Artisanal Soul Shield bases, and just get this and just fuse it on. It's rather simple. You just buy it and you just click here, you put it here in the Fuse Sacrifice, and you click Evolve. It'll add the critical stat onto the Soul Shield, which will help you quite a lot. So a good example was my Fire Gunner. My Fire Gunner didn't reinforce any of her soul shields, however she did have 8-piece Vortex Temple, but the problem was my critical chance was only like 44%. And after I imbued it, my critical chance went up to 55%. Simply just by using these artisanal crit primers, I bought 8 of them, I put it on every single piece, and that was it. However, if you do have the perfect roll, so for example, piece 4 over here, you have a critical accuracy roll, and you know that you're going to be staying with this soul shield for a while, you could use better soul shield primers. So if you scroll down in the Dragon Express, there's a whole bunch of different soul shields. So you've got the Artisanal, which are the blue ones, you've got your Masterwork, which are the purple ones, and you've got the Soul Warden critical soul shields, which are the orange ones. If you have a perfect piece, do not buy these. Do not buy the Masterwork one, and do not buy the Soul Warden one. I recommend you to come directly here to Sari Gardens Trading Post. Once you come here, there's an NPC over here called Suh. You talk to Suh over here, and you scroll down. So here you can buy your regular soul shields, but if you scroll down a little bit more, right here, Aransu Critical Soul Shield Primer. The reason you want to buy this one is because it rolls higher critical chance. So it's much easier to max out your critical rolls. Because understand, when you buy a critical primer and when you fuse it onto a soul shield, it's a random roll. It does not guarantee to give you the maximum. So as you can see here, when I'm hovering over the critical soul shield primer, it says critical 470. That is the maximum critical this soul shield primer can give you. It does not mean that once I fuse it, I will automatically gain 470 critical. Because as you can see here, my piece 1 for my Twilight Temple, the maximum critical it can roll is only 397. As well as here's 416, 435, 388, and as the piece goes higher, the critical rolls can roll higher. So for example, if I look at my piece 8, its maximum roll is 469. And you can see here, this one goes 470. So my piece 8, I want to use a Aransu Critical Primer. However, by rolling maximum, my chances are quite low to roll a max critical chance roll. So there is RNG involved in this, and it does add up to become a little bit expensive, especially if you're low on Hive Queen Wings or if you're low on Masterwork Soul Shield bases. Never buy the Masterwork Soul Shield base off the market. It's awfully expensive. What you want to do is you want to join the Soul Wardens over here, and you can craft Masterwork Soul Shield bases. It does take 5 days to craft 25 of them. However, it is a lot cheaper than buying off the market. Buying off the market is extremely expensive. I believe 10 pieces cost around like 300 gold. So you'd much rather wait the 5 days, craft 25 of them at the cost of 36 gold and a little bit of materials. And then once you've got that, use the Soul Shield bases, use your Hive Queen Wings, and just buy it from Suh over here. Anyway, I hope this video helped. If it did, I would appreciate a subscribe. It really does help out my channel. And thanks for watching. See you guys next time. Bye.
What can I say except you're welcome?